What is up, everybody? Solomon here. I think I have a very interesting video for you all today, and I'll start it out with a bit of news here. So happy Tuesday, everybody. So this came across today. MoneyGram and Digital Financial Services signed remittance partnership. MoneyGram International has entered into a remittance partnership with Digital Financial Services, which is a joint venture between Etisalat, however you pronounce that, and Norbank. Cross-border remittances to more than 200 countries and territories. Owned by Digital Financial Services, eWallet is a licensed digital payment service provider in the UAE. Very interesting. We are going to get into very heavily in this video Bank for International Settlements and the Digital Dollar Project, and Congress is hearing today regarding CBDCs and a central bank digital currency in the United States. But I want to get through this information. PayPal to be available on PundyX's blockchain-based POS devices. That's huge news for those of you that hold PundyX. All right, Accenture, who we are going to be talking about in this. R3 joined Confidential Computing Consortium. Yesterday, the Confidential Computing Consortium announced a raft of new members, including firms involved in blockchain such as R3, Enclave, IoTex, and Accenture. You guys can do a little bit more digging into that if you want to. Here we go. Now we're getting into a little bit more of the actual research portion of this video. So first, Vanguard. There's been news about Vanguard over the past month and their blockchain platform that is going to be deployed in Q3 of 2020. But I did want to shed some light on Vanguard. And the Valley Forge PA-based investment company, Vanguard, has partnered with technology provider Symbiont to create a blockchain pilot for foreign exchange transactions. Now, the pilot was participated in by State Street and BNY Mellon. BNY Mellon is huge. State Street is also huge as counterparty banks and custodians, while Vanguard and Franklin Templeton acted as dealer banks. We get into Symbiont here, who is their technology provider for blockchain, Vanguard. Symbiont bridges Bitcoin and Ripple with Counterparty Gateway. This is all the way back in 2015, everybody. Great, that's old news, right? So they can bridge Bitcoin and Ripple with Counterparty Gateway. Counterparty Gateway looks like a different organization. I did a little bit of digging into them. This is what's really interesting, though, and this is where we get into the Vanguard information. This is the CEO, along with the co-founder at Symbiont.io. This is Mark Smith, Greater New York City area, et cetera, et cetera. Right in his About section on LinkedIn here, you've got specialties are Bitcoin and Ripple. Those are his specialties. Sales strategies and implementation, business building plans, ECNs. Okay. All right, now on Twitter, this is Symbiont.io. This is from May 24th, 2018. Mark Smith, who is the CEO of Symbiont, speaking alongside R3, Ripple, PeerNova, and RBLT FinTech Conference to hash out a new paradigm for blockchain. And there was another gentleman here, switched from CLS to Symbiont after 4 years at CLS, as Darren or Fame21 More pointed out previously. CLS had tweeted that they used Finastra's Global Pay Plus. So I'm sure that there's some sort of Ripple integration going on there, RippleNet integration. Now this is the main presentation, though, in this video here, everybody. And I'm going to try to make this as easy to understand, as simple as possible. And I hope that this provides a little bit of insight as to what is actually going on in finance across the board and as far as financial digitization. So Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub to expand to new locations in Europe and North America. Fantastic. I'm more worried about the institutions that are joining in this initiative here. And I did a little bit of a compilation as far as RippleNet is concerned with these institutions. So first let me see who my first one up is. I've got Deutsche Bundesbank. I guess that's how you'd pronounce it. I could be completely wrong. But they are in this innovation hub here. And this was an interesting little section that they had here. This is their financial report, monthly report 2019, Deutsche Bundesbank Eurosystem. And if you go up, Until now, cross-border payments between banks have been settled via an international network of bilateral accounts. In a number of cases, lines of credit are provided in order to settle payments. Trust between the counterparties and correspondent banking therefore plays a key role. In some cases, there exist inefficiencies that can result from the long settlement chains and lack of standardization, which are then reflected in relatively high fees and long processing times compared to national payments. In addition, some regions have seen a decline in correspondent banking relationships and tendencies towards consolidation in recent years. Now it gets into optimization for cross-border payments. Tokens can serve as a common medium of exchange within a network and thereby replace bilateral account management. And they reference 25 right here, which is a footnote. If I go to 25 for Deutsche Bundesbank, see, for example, Ripple solution overview. And that Ripple solution goes through Xcurrent. It goes through, I think this one actually went through Xvia, and then it does touch base on what was now ODL, but it used to be XRapid. So there's Deutsche Bundesbank as far as your Bank for International Settlement Innovation Hub. The next institution we're going to be getting into here is the Bank of France. They are also playing a role in this here. Central Bank of Iceland. I know you can look it up. I know for a fact the Central Bank of France is within the scope of this Bank for International Settlements expansion of their innovation hub. So Bank of France here. This is Central Bank CBDC, which was put out February 3rd, 2020. And it talks about, I've discussed this on a previous video. And just so you guys know that I'm not completely lying here, I mean, you can look up here, Publications Bank France, Central Bank Digital Currency. Go down to Ripple. This talks about units, Central Bank Digital Currency units. Units issued on the wholesale CBDC's native blockchain could be transferred to other blockchains. Why would they want to do that? Maybe because all the CBDC blockchains aren't going to interoperate. Since the attributes of a unit of a wholesale CBDC may be integrated in a crypto asset circulating on another blockchain, which is possible on Ethereum and Ripple. Why would they want to integrate and circulate a central bank digital currency on a blockchain such as Ripple? Maybe because XRP could be utilized to bridge into another central bank digital currency. A little bit of common sense for everybody. So everybody talking about CBDCs are going to completely eliminate the need for a bridge asset. First off, I'd like to just have a little bit of a disclaimer here. Do we really think that CBDCs are going to solve the problem that inherently exists in fiat? Do you think that they're going to put a cap on the amount of printing that they can do for CBDCs? I heavily doubt all of those things. They're going to need something to bridge. There's so much red tape when you're dealing with cross-border transactions. There's such a lack of liquidity when you're dealing with certain cross-border transactions from nation A to nation B that you're definitely going to need something to bridge it in certain situations. And I would go as far as to say once liquidity is built up, it probably makes sense to do it across the board. But we're not there yet. So, all right, now, also Bank of England is involved in this Bank for International Settlements expansion of the Innovation Hub. We can see Project Jasper, Phase 2, Bank of England, Bank of Canada. This is Bank Canada, I'm sorry. Bank of Canada is involved in that Bank for International Settlements expansion of the Innovation Hub. Project Jasper, which is their DLT, interbank payment settlement, domestic, as far as domestic transactions are concerned. The white paper was legitimately written by Payments Canada, R3, and Bank of Canada. So do you not think that there are court of settler implications that go along with that? I guarantee you there probably are. We all know court of settler right now supports XRP and SWIFT, and they have announced that they are going to integrate additional tokens in the future as well, obviously. So, you know, just providing a little bit of scope for everybody, how big this is. There's so many connections across the board here. All right, this is the Faster Payments Task Force, because many of you may have seen today that the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub is also one of the members of that is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So the Federal Reserve actually convened these payment stakeholders for the Faster Payments Task Force to work collaboratively to identify and assess alternative approaches to implementing safe, ubiquitous, faster payments capabilities in the United States. And obviously, Ripple is a member of the Faster Payments Task Force. All right, I'm moving along now. All right, we also have Sweden's central bank. Sweden's central bank announced that Accenture would be its technology partner for the e-Krona pilot project. Accenture is also RippleNet. Now, Sweden's central bank, or Sweden, I should say, as a whole, actually partnered with SIA. So they partnered with SIA for their Parago real-time gross settlement system, and I do believe they've also partnered with SIA for blockchain capabilities. Speaking about SIA, SIA is also RippleNet, by the way, but SIA and Quant 2 days or 3 days ago, so you've got the Quant token and the Quant network. Quant successfully tests blockchain interoperability. So I would not be a sleeper on Quant. That is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I am all about smart diversification in this space because I feel that there will be multiple winners. Just letting you know, SIA and Quant successfully test blockchain interoperability. You go on to SIA chain through SIA here. You can see R3 as a connection point. You can see Ripple as a connection point. Permission based on SIA's private network. Centralized services for decentralized solutions. And multiple DLT platforms supported. Corda, Ethereum, Ripple, Hyperledger, Fabric, etc. This is an older presentation. Payment with cryptocurrencies is not an option. Costly, slow, cryptocurrencies are not currencies. I would be interested to see if that rhetoric shifts once all the big boys and the powers that be have their CBDCs all ready to go and everything else. Because in my opinion, again, not financial advice and not trying to be hypey for you all, I think that a lot of the weight as far as, because it just makes sense. Markets run in cycles, correct? So 2017, we saw the huge run up. I do not think that that was by mistake. I think the tether printing was completely ridiculous and out of hand. And I think that led a lot to how high that bubble went. Now, I also think that you have all the powers that be it realize exactly what went on. This is just literally just my opinion. And knew that they needed to get stake in the game. And by stake in the game, they needed to get connectivity. And for banks, they needed to get their nations, they needed to get CBDCs up and running before any of this stuff takes off, because it's going to take off. Now, we have also SIA and Ripple are integrated through the TAS gateway, TAS network gateway. TAS is partnered with Swift. They're partnered with all sorts of different institutions. They're ISO 20022 certified. They have connectors to SIA, Swift, and Ripple. All right. Now, European Central Bank is also a member of the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub expansion project over the next year or two. Connecting banks' payment systems. ILP is integrated with the European Central Bank. In the FT, Martin Arnold reports about a new cross-border payment method tested by the Bank of England. I'm sorry, this is Bank of England. The Interledger there's so much information here, everybody. I apologize. Bank of England. The Interledger program transfers money near instantaneously and without settlement risk. Quote, the Bank of England set up 2 simulated real-time gross settlement systems on a cloud computing platform using the Ripple Interledger to simultaneously process a successful cross-border payment. If you're not aware, Interledger protocol is very much so agnostic. It doesn't care. It doesn't even really care that it's currency. Interledger protocol can just transmit value. So it can deal in fiat, dollar to dollar, dollar to another different nation's currency. It can deal in cryptocurrency if need be, and it can deal in anything, commodities, equities, whatever. It's currency. It's value agnostic. It doesn't care. Now we're gonna move on. This is very interesting too. This is the Bank of France. I don't know if I've seen. I had to have seen this at some point, but. This is like a file that's on Ripple's website, and it looks like this was part of the Bank of France's, which is the Central Bank of France, their financial stability review, or at least something that was proposed to them. And this entire thing was written by Ripple. Talks about Internet of Value. It talks about everything in here. Very, very interesting. And I have seen other. I think I actually had a document in here, Bank of France, as far as the wholesale CBDCs was concerned. All right. Now, for those of you that may not have seen this today, and I'm sure most of you probably have at this point in time, the Senate basically held testimony today for the digitization of money and payments. This has to do with Christopher Giancarlo. If you are not aware who that gentleman is, he's basically was one of the big regulators and is now not. He was the person that came out about a week ago and said that XRP is not a security. I'm withholding judgment. I don't believe XRP is a security, but I'm withholding judgment until we actually get a ruling from the actual judge. I mean, that just makes sense to do, right? I want to get into here, though. This talks quite a bit about DLT, but I always pay attention to verbiage and the words that people are using. And this gentleman here mentions the Internet of Value in some very interesting ways here. That first internet wave over the past few decades was an Internet of Information. It is about to be superseded by the next wave, the Internet of Value. In this new era, trust will be less often provided by established central institutions, as is the case in most of the world's existing financial market infrastructure. Rather, with proper governance, it will be achieved by collaborative cryptography and a decentralized network of computer algorithms. And he talks again about the Internet of Value down here. There's quite a bit about DLT in this as well. The DLT network, and he's talking about the Digital Dollar Project now, would operate on an autonomous permission network and ensure validity and integrity of all transactions. Blah, 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 blah. Participants only need to interact with the tokens and do not need to require to be connected to a payment system. Great. Here we go. DLT network participants would include the central bank and potentially resident banks, other financial intermediaries, and new entities that can help afford greater resilience in payment processing. What does that sound like? That sounds like new entities as far as intermediaries are concerned that are facilitating the speed of the transfers, potentially the bridging of the transfers, depending on what you're doing. I mean, this is just wild stuff, everybody. I mean, it's super right in front of everybody's faces here. And I mean, 99% of the world is just not seeing what's going on. Bank for International Settlements today also put out an annual report. I don't know. I actually did not see this one circulating. This was about basically addressing COVID. Annual report. It does talk about COVID, forward by the BIS general manager, or at least that's the way they showed it on their website. So this is a functional view of the stablecoin ecosystem with selected examples. And I wanted to get into this, and I'm going to wrap this up shortly, but this is interesting. Cross-border payments and financial inclusion. Private sector initiatives also shed light on two major shortcomings: cross-border payments and access to transaction accounts for financial inclusion. Level playing field, serving the underbanked, correct? Together with relevant international bodies, the CPMI, pay attention to CPMI, played a leading part in identifying the challenges and the way forward to improve cross-border payments. It collaborated with the World Bank to further facilitate the industry's efforts towards financial inclusion. CPMI. This is an Accenture presentation here from 2017. Now, this is directly Accenture and Ripple. This is Accenture and Ripple, the journey to real-time cross-border commercial payments using distributed ledger technology. I always revisit old documents because I see terms and phrases that it lets you kind of see what the timeline has been throughout this whole process. They're talking about the entire scheme here. Figure 2 shows Accenture's payment scheme operating model framework and its components, with Ripple distributed ledger technology as the core infrastructure. Where else have we seen core infrastructure of Ripple? I've seen it in Flutterwave. Flutterwave is now a member of PayID. Flutterwave is partnered with Visa and Alipay as well. You can look up that on your own because it has all basically just happened over the past 6 to 9 months. Core infrastructure. The governance, rules, and planning component covers scheme governance, structure, regulatory compliance, best practice such as CPMI, which Bank for International Settlements just said, identify the challenges with the World Bank. it's basically like a subsect of like the BIS, the CPMI group. I'll link this if you haven't seen this, but I mean, this is Accenture's payment scheme, operating model framework for cross-border payments. Accenture, if I'm not mistaken, does the systems integration for RippleNet across the board with all of its clients. Infrastructure, Ripple DLT. Oh, look, platform integration, e.g. D plus H. Who else is D plus H? D plus H merged with Missis and is now Finastra, who is also ODL/XRP enabled. Things that make you go, Now I'm just getting into the rhetoric here. I first saw Internet of Value 2015, 2016, and that came from Ripple. Please, if anybody finds anything earlier than that when it deals with blockchain and the Internet of Value that comes from any other place besides Ripple, please let me know. But most of you have seen this. This is KPMG consensus, a mutable agreement for the Internet of Value. Ripple is mentioned in this presentation as well. Alternatives to blockchains, Ripple, first significant new one, etc., etc. All right. Now, we've got Ripple talking Internet of Value here. Distributed payment solutions lay the foundation for an Internet of Value, a network that moves value the same way the Internet moves data. The Internet of Value is a platform on which new innovation, business models, and services can be built. I also found a presentation from Ripple about the Internet of Value from 2016 that essentially talks about the need to connect all legacy institutions and all blockchain platforms together. And that's what this whole thing, in my opinion, is about. I'll touch on that at the end of this video. All right, this is also CPMI. This is Bank of International Settlements. The Committee on Payments and Market Infrastructures, this is just a background of what they do. A body of the Bank for International Settlements has qualified cryptocurrencies as digital currencies or digital currency schemes. Accenture referenced Ripple DLT and the underlying cross-border payments as a scheme. These schemes are said to exhibit the following key features. Okay. There are assets similar to commodities such as gold, zero intrinsic value. I don't necessarily believe in that. They make use of distributed ledgers, etc. So CPMI again. We know they're a branch of the Bank for International Settlements now. Another slide came out today, motivations for issuing a general purpose CBDC. This is from the Bank for International Settlements today. Most of you probably didn't see this one. There's a subsect on their website where you go to speeches. This was an actual speech from another gentleman. At the very end, they have a slide share about some of the motivation points for moving towards a general purpose retail CBDC. Payment safety and robustness, efficiency, financial stability, monetary policy implementation, payment efficiency, cross-border, and financial inclusion. They have payment efficiency and cross-border a little bit lower than the other tiers here. I don't believe that you're going to have interoperation across the board with CBDCs. I think you're going to need something to bridge it. That is just my opinion. This is interesting as well. Company has emerged, this is Ripple, as a leader in the real-time payment space and was recently chosen as a technology pioneer by the World Economic Forum. This is all the way back in 2015. This is the World Economic Forum. What do we see again? The team's vision is to enable an internet of value through which it will be possible to exchange anything of value as freely and instantly as we exchange information today. I'm going to leave everybody with this, and this is just a little bit of my opinion here of what is actually going on. I'm not all about the instant, XRP to X valuation in the flick of a switch. I do believe that is possible. I am not going to sit here and tell you what's possible or what's not possible. But what I think is going on right now is you're seeing the interoperability across the board is the key driver for the Internet of Value. Everything needs to interoperate. You've got all these financial institutions. I just went through that Bank for International Settlements expansion of their innovation hub, and there's probably a handful of blockchain technology providers for these banks. I know Ripple's one of them. And I know Ripple is trying to utilize the digital asset XRP to the best of their capabilities for some of their solutions. So that's great. I bet on the only thing you can do in this market that is so hyped with speculation and nonsense is try to place your bets on where these financial institutions and where these banks are placing their bets, because we are still early, but I do think early is going to be too late very quickly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. All right, bye.